computer. Perfect. Okay. All right. Okay. So hi everyone. I hope you had a good learning on the AWS part. And so from here we will cover basics of how do you manage the infrastructure as a code. Okay. Um, so you might be hearing you would be hearing a lot of like infrastructure as a code, configuration as a code, right? And and you will hear tools like Terraform, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, code build, Jenkins as a code is also a familiar term uh, uh, in the DevOps area. So what are these terminologies? Why are people talking about it, and why do people go for these when you work in a fully integrated DevOps work framework? Okay. So we will see how can Terraform help you to create AWS infrastructure from a code. Okay, so you write a code, like go to your code editor, write something, run few commands, and it will create your infrastructure. Okay, and we'll see the beauty of this code, right? This code help you to define your infrastructure in a simple, very simple manner. Okay, so you never need to go to AWS to create EC2 machine, VPC. Okay, everything is defined in the code. So we see how you can do this with Terraform. Okay, and once we get a good grasp on Terraform, we will also see how you can use Ansible to define to configure your infrastructure. So that is configuration as a code. Okay. Um, so before I begin, how many of you already know Terraform before? Like, have you heard of Terraform or you have used Terraform in your current role? How many of you have experience on Terraform? Anyone? Like Anuradha, Lalit, Mahesh, Sandeep, Yashwini, Shishwini? Well,
No, not it.
not yet. Okay. Correct. Anyone of you like have used Terraform or have heard of Terraform? Infrastructure as a code. Are you familiar with infrastructure as a code? Okay. Okay. Um, let's see. Like, what is it? What is all these terms? Okay, and why do we need all this thing in the DevOps? Okay. So, okay. So as you already know, right? So let me just show you something so that you will know it better. Okay. Uh, okay. So let me open some few things. I'll open Excalibur. This I started this tool like 2 months back only, and I started to love it. Okay, so let's draw a clear line here so that we can start with Terraform. Okay, so there are few terms. Okay, X as a code. Okay, so what does this as a code means, right? So you know that how do you create how do you create anything, right? So if you are on AWS, okay, how do you create infra slash infra create setup delete or like update, right? And infrastructure infra, or you say services. Okay, software deployments. When you talk about Jenkins, like you create pipelines, right? So how do you do all this thing in the real world? Okay, so how do you do all this thing? This is what words. Okay, so if you are on AWS, okay, if you are on AWS, how do you create EC2 machines? Anyone, like just few things, like how do you do what do you do to create a EC2 machine? Anyone? Like first thing is login, right? Right? You log into AWS. when you log in, and then after you log in, you go to EC2 console, right? Right. And from EC2 console, you say launch instance, right? And once you launch instance, you fill in the details, right? And these details includes, right? What does this detail include? It includes name, uh, image that you want to create EC2 machine from, like Ubuntu, Windows, or CentOS, or anything like image. You fill in the machine type, okay? T2 micro, T3 micro, large, small, all these things. Okay, so machine type. You also specify the security groups. Okay, you also specify the networking, right? VPC, which VPC you want to use. Okay, what subnet you want to use, all this. Okay, and what else? You will also sometimes pass user data. Okay, this is a script that is run for the first time when your machine is launches, right? What else you will provide? You will provide one important thing is key pair. Okay, this is the key pair you use to log in into machine. Okay, so you pass all this thing, and there are many things that you will pass. Okay, so once you do this, you say okay, create. That's right. So this is how you create EC2 machine. And once you create it, okay, once you create it, how do you connect? You connect by uh, clicking connect button. Right? Click on connect button and copy the SSH command, right? Okay, so this is how you create a EC2 instance, right? Uh, okay, so if you want to create another one, you will follow the same process, right? So same process you will do for another machine. Okay, so what are the things that can go wrong, right? When you are creating, so can go right. What can go wrong when you create machine like this? Okay, so when you create machine like this, the name you choose is totally dependent on. You can choose any random name, right? Let's say Trello 1, Trello 2, you say Anuradha, or you say Nikhil, or you say Sandeep, right? You create your own naming convention. Anybody who is creating machine, he will use his own type of naming, right? Images, somebody will like Ubuntu, somebody will like CentOS, so they use their own kind of images. Machine type, you can choose any type of machine. So there may be time that you will choose a machine which is very heavy, okay, and which may not be like cost efficient. So, so the machine you create is totally depend on who is creating the machine, okay, and when he is creating the machine, for what purpose he is creating the machine, okay. And when there are hundreds of people working in the same company and they create infrastructure like this, there will be no relation between two machines. Like though the two machine you create will look entirely different. Okay, they have the different naming convention. They have different set of a security group. They will have different networking. They will have different user data, and you cannot you cannot establish a pattern between them. Okay, and this is the reason. Okay, the companies has started to organize the way people create infrastructure. Okay, so maybe someday you created this machine, like I created this machine, right? Okay, I created this machine. Okay, and now the next day, like I created the machine, I gave it to say Yashwini. Okay, Yashashwini. Okay, or maybe like Yash. Okay. So Yashashwini, I gave him this machine, okay, and he go and change the name of the machine. Okay, he said the machine name is not good. He changes with Yash and some machine name. Okay, next day I come here, okay, and I'm looking for my machine, and the machine is not there. Okay, and I need to go to Yashwini and ask her what did she changed. Okay, and that is where I can get the details. But what if Yashwini is not there? So I have to go and manually check all the machine and find the relative details. Okay, the details I might have filled. Okay, it's a guess. Right? So I don't have a history of machine or history of things that happen to machine. Okay, so this is one of the thing. when you work in a large environment, when you create infrastructure, you don't get a history of what changed. Okay, so this is one another problem. So one problem is uh, the problem with the infrastructure like this is there is no uniformity. Okay, there is no uniformity. Names are different. The machine locations are different. The networking kind of are different. The machine types are different. Image people use are different. Okay, user data they might use is totally different. Key pair, right? If I create a machine, I will create with Opaliver. You create the machine, you will be like say Sushni creating machine. Yashwini is there. If Lalit is creating a machine, he will give his own name. If Anuradha is creating a machine, she will give like his own kind of key pair name. Okay, so the key pair ultimately will be very large, and not everybody will have access to all the keys, right? So there is no uniformity in the infrastructure. Another problem is no history of changes. Okay, so whatever is going to change on machine, you cannot trace back who changed what. Okay, so some simply who changed what is a problem, is not predictable. Okay, so like if you want to blame, right, somebody deleted your machine, so who would you blame? Okay, so that is something. The machine, the infra is not repeatable. Okay, let's say you created a machine and your team liked the way you created a machine. Okay, and now they want you to create 100 machine of the same type. Okay, so how would you do it? You would go and create 100 machine manually. Okay, so this is not feasible. So how do you tackle that problem? So this is called the infrastructure is not repeatable. You cannot create the infrastructure in a repeatable fashion. Okay, although there is a way you can go to AWS instance and select the number of instances you want to create, but again, that has a limitation. So it's not a repeatable. You have to go to AWS and do all this thing. So infra is not repeatable. Okay. Uh, so in uh, the shareable environment, okay. So other problem is if multiple people are using it, um, they don't know where are the machine. Okay, so they don't know the exact detail of the machine who created and whom to reach out. Okay, in a shareable environment, ownership is not known. Okay, so who owns the infrastructure is not known to people. So ownership is a problem. Okay? So who owns the infrastructure is not known. So all these things. Okay, so this is I'm taking example of EC2. Okay, but there may be other things like how do you create VPC, how do you create so this is like this, right? So if I just trim it down and somebody asks you to create same infrastructure in another region. Okay, let's say EC like US East, sorry, what is this? US East 1. Okay, so this is a region in region in AWS. Okay, and you created this in US West 1. Okay, now your manager asked to create same infrastructure in US East 1. Okay, do you think there is a way you can do the same thing in US East 1? Anyone? Is it possible to do the same step exactly in another region? It's nearly impossible, right? You don't know what you have done. Okay, or either what you will do is you go to east machine and copy exactly copy the things that are in this machine to that. Okay, so key pair, you have to copy key pair there, you have to use the same user data there. So this is nearly impossible to replicate same thing in different region. Okay, and this is the case when you want to use it disaster recovery. Okay, so what is disaster recovery? Okay, so just to give a small example. So this is your infrastructure, okay, in US East one of the region, okay, and there is another region, okay, which is not there. Okay, so what happens in disaster recovery is, okay, your application is running here, okay, people are able to access this location, Okay, these are people, right? 1, 2, 3 people. Okay, 1, 2, 3 people. Okay, so they are accessing your application. Okay, and suddenly, let's say this is Africa. Okay, in Africa, you are hosting your application. I don't know what is the situation, but so in Africa, you're using the application, and suddenly whole Africa internet is down, right? Whole Africa, the internet is down. So the internet is down here. So how would you access this application? Okay. So SRE people, right? Site reliability engineers, right? Site reliability engineers. So what they do is they create a disaster recovery solution. Okay. So what they do is they create the clone of this environment in another region. Okay. Just to make sure if this region is down, they can bring up the application from another region. So they create in either USA. Okay. Let's take USA. So all let's say India. We live in India. We have a lot of power cut here. But let's say, sorry for the spell mistake. So I'll say India. Let me make it bigger. We just want one cup. Okay, so let's remove USA from it. They are useless. Okay. So India. So what they do is they just copy this whole thing. Okay, they copy everything here and they just make a clone here. Okay. So they make a clone of here, and whenever this Africa is down, there will be some small downtime, but they will replace this URL with this URL. Okay, so that everybody trying to access this application, they will go here, and this is called disaster recovery. Okay, so one of the whole when there is a whole region goes down, okay, the SRE people or DevOps people set up a disaster recovery environment which can serve the traffic. Okay, so this is like if whole of the India lost internet connection, how would you access google.com? Okay, so let's say google.com is only running in India. All the data structure, all the data, all the data is in India. And if this data center goes down or some somebody hacks the data center, how would people access google.com? So Google will we will create a disaster recovery as well. So this is how they can access. They will be still be accessible outside of India. Okay, so why I'm talking about disaster recovery is to set up a disaster recovery, you have to make sure the same environment is replicable here. Okay, and this you cannot do with a manual thing, right? You cannot go and create it by clicking on the buttons and all those things. Okay, so how do people ensure they can do all this thing? Okay, so they use a technique called infrastructure as a code. Okay, so here X is equal to infrastructure. Okay, so what is infrastructure as code? Okay, so infrastructure as a code I don't know how to do this only for this. Only wait. Okay, fine. So how what is this infrastructure as a code? The infrastructure code in this means right. So your infrastructure is defined by code. Okay, and okay, this is just repeating what the word says. Uh, so in a broader way, okay, if you want to create a EC2 machine, okay, and I'm taking example of Terraform. Okay, so to create a machine EC2, you create a code like this. Okay, so let me just EC2 Terraform. Okay. So if I search this, you will see how it is easy to create a EC2 instance. Okay, so you define something like this. Okay, you define something like this, and this will create your instance. Okay, let me just add it here. Okay. So this code, okay, will create a EC2 machine. Okay, you see, I defined army. Okay, the image of the machine here, image of the machine, the type, machine type, and name of the machine. Okay, only three things, and this will create a EC2 machine. Okay, and here it is by default taking most of the value, it is taking default. Okay, and these are also available when you create a EC2 machine. So in short, you can define your code, you can define your infrastructure in the code. Okay, and here you can create multiple instances like this. Okay, you create three code of this, it will create three instances. Okay, and and if you want to create three instances using single code, you can also use something like count equal to 3. Okay, so these are the so this piece of code is defining your infrastructure. Okay, and here also, like when you create a EC2 machine, you have to define VPC as well, right? If you don't want to use default VPC, you can also create AWS VPC by creating a resource. Okay, here for AWS VPC. Okay, and you can define your VPC. Let's say my app VPC. Okay, and you can define few properties of the VPC that are required by for the VPC, and it will create a VPC for you. Okay, so this code, you're not specifying which region you're creating, which account you're creating. All these things are also defined by separate files. We'll go through that, but this is called your infrastructure as a code. Okay, so this is infrastructure as a code. The second, so we talked about, okay, let's remove all these things so that we can. So let me just delete all this thing, disaster recovery part. Okay. And we that is it. Okay. Let me delete all these things. Delete, delete. Perfect. Okay. And I will move it here. I'll just delete it here. Yeah, anybody asking something? Anyone asking? Okay. So this is your infrastructure as a code. Let me just bring it a small thing. Okay, this is your infrastructure as a code. Okay. So yeah, this is infrastructure code. The second thing is your configuration as a code. Okay. And here we will take example of configuration as a code. Here we will take example of okay. So what is configuration of code? Your configuration for a machine is defined by a code here. Okay, and I'll take a small example, and then we will move to Terraform. So let's take an example. Your configuration like your machine requires, like when you create a machine, you want to install some packages, right? Okay, so how do you install the packages? Let's say you want to install Apache server, right? So what you do is, if your Ubuntu machine, you do apt update, okay, and apt install Apache or HTTPD, okay, and then you enable the service by service systemctl enable HTTPD, okay, and systemctl start HTTPD to start the service. Okay, so these four commands you need to run when your machine need a HTTPD server or Apache server. Okay, so how do you run this code? You go to machine and then get the cell and then run this command, right? So, but you cannot do this on 100 machine. Okay, so if you have 100 machine, how do you run this same command on 100 machine? Okay, this is nearly a an impossible task to do for single person. Okay, so how do you automate this part? You use configuration as a code. Okay, and in the configuration as a code, I'll give you an example here. Okay, so this is a configuration. Okay, and here it takes okay, so this is a code snippet from Ansible. Okay, and here I'm installing package called HTTPD. Okay, and I'm defining the state enable. Okay, and this is the code to install the HTTPD server. Okay, now you see this thing. Okay, you can run on as many hosts as you want. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, you can define host all. Okay, and you can just define task here. So this is an Ansible code, okay, which will install HTTPD on all the machine that you pass to the command. Okay, so I'll also give you an demo for this. Okay, how do you? So this part is called configuration also as a code. So by defining this configuration, you are telling that I will have HTTPD installed on all the machine that is after running this playbook, this code. Okay, we'll see how to run this code and all those things. But just to give you an example, this is a configuration as a code. Okay, so infrastructure as a code, defining the infrastructure. Okay, and configuration as a code, defining your configuration for the system. Okay, and now, like if you want to change configuration of a code, let's say someday one of you, like one of the person who's managing the machine, he doesn't like HTTPD. Okay, he want what he want is he want Nginx, right? So what he will do is he will disable the HTTPD by doing disable. Okay, and he will install Nginx, right? He will install Nginx. So it says Nginx instead of HTTPD, and you say enabled, disabled. So this way, you can know that you will know that somebody has replaced HTTPD with Nginx. Okay, and when it is in Git, right? So if you use Git or GitHub, okay, if you have all this code in GitHub, and you know that you can store where do you store your code? You store it in a Git repository. Okay, or Git or GitHub or Bitbucket. Okay, and when you store all this code on a Git repository, okay, you will see who is changing the code. Okay, okay, if even if this code is also in GitHub, and GitHub, from GitHub you know that you can automate all this thing using Jenkins. We will also do that. Okay, so when you integrate this code with GitHub or Git repository, you will also have a history of changes. Okay, so whoever is changing this, who added this part, let's say I added this part, so my name will appear in the Git that this person enabled this. Okay, and that person enabled. Who added this instance? So when you commit this, when I will commit this code, my name will appear here. So that Om Prakash added this new instance. Okay, and he updated the name, or he updated the T2 micro. So all this thing will appear in the code. Okay, yeah. So this is like a lot of thing, but let's go through some key concept in Terraform. Okay, um, so we'll try to build AWS infrastructure uh, using Terraform here. Okay. Okay, fine. So, so how do you provision? Like this is what we just saw. So there are how do you create a VM on AWS? There are multiple way. So this is what we will see. How do you include what information you need to provide? You need to provide virtual machine name, operating systems, the size of the VM, location of the VM, and username, password using key. Okay. So you go to key, your AWS console. You provide all this information. This is an old console. In the newer console, it is much easier, but this is similar to what we do. Okay. Okay, so this is one way. You go to GUI and fill in the information. Okay. The second way is you use cloud formation. Okay, we didn't talk about cloud formation. It's an advanced concept, but this is a template provided by AWS, which can be used to create resources on AWS. Okay, this is similar to configuration as a code. This is one of the configuration as a code, but it only works in AWS. Okay, so if you are only working on AWS, you can use cloud formation. Okay, but if you are using any other cloud, or you are working in a hybrid environment, you will have to use a tool that works in multiple environment. Okay, so cloud formation is only specific to AWS, but this is one of the way you can configure resources, create resources on AWS. Okay, so uh, you see here it has defined so you see here they are defining resource here, EC2 instance, and another is resources instance security group. Okay, because when you create an instance, you need to specify the security group as well. Okay, here they have defined the type of resource you are creating. This is the name of the resource, and here you are defining the key name, image ID, instance type, okay, and all those things. And in the security group, you are defining the name and other information here. Okay, so this way you can also create infrastructure on AWS using cloud formation. Okay, the cloud formation is another way to create uh, resources on AWS. Okay. Okay, so the third way is, let me just clear all this thing, clear all drawings. Okay, the third way that we will see today is provisioning with Terraform. Okay, we saw that how do you create a machine using Terraform. This code, this piece of code will create a machine on AWS. Okay, and you see here we are providing army, we are providing security group, we are providing instance type, we are providing key name, and we are providing some tags. And when you create a machine, the name tag will be applied to the name of the machine. Okay, so this is an example code which will create a VM in Terraform using Terraform on AWS. Okay, so let's quickly jump onto the code. Okay, so to start with Terraform, okay, what you need is you need a Terraform binary installed on your machine. Okay, so to do that, okay, what I'll do is I'll just close all this thing and I'll start from fresh. Okay, so I'll go here. Okay, I'll just let me share here. Okay, this is my machine. Okay, and I will create here a folder called Terraform demo. Okay, I'll go here. Okay, so I have Terraform already installed here. Okay, so it is already working here, but let me show you how to install Terraform from on your machine. Okay, so I'll go to GitHub. Okay, here let me open the project here. Okay, here I'll go to repository and okay, I'll create a new repository for Terraform code only. Okay, and I'll say Terraform 101. Okay, it will be public so that you can access Terraform training sessions. Add readme. This is not a brainer, like you already know how to create a GitHub repo. This is my sample repo, and how I can access this code. Okay, so you don't need to. I mean, if you don't want to install Visual Code and all those things, you can always use create code space feature on GitHub that will give you a ready-made IDE, okay, from browser. So this is starting. Yeah. Okay, if you have any question, feel free to stop me. So let's create a healthy discussion like on what we are doing. If you don't understand any of the thing, just let me know. So I just wanted to make things like real easy for you. Okay, so if it is like going over your head, just feel free to stop me. I have different way to tell things as well. Okay, so this is an empty repo. There's nothing here. If I click on Terraform, you will see Terraform command is not there. Okay, so how do you install Terraform? Okay, so I can go to Terraform uh, Terraform by HashiCorp. So Terraform is provided by HashiCorp community. Okay, HashiCorp provides many tools. Okay, one of them is Terraform. This was the first product they launched, and then after that they launched many other products as well. So how do you install Terraform? You can go to download Terraform, and there are many. So if you are on Mac, you can run this command. If you are Windows, you can run this command. If you are on Linux, you can run this command. Okay, so so there are multiple Linux distribution here: Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora, Amazon Linux, Homebrew. How do you know which one you want to use? Okay, so that you can go here and just do cat etc os release. Okay, this way you will know that what version of operating system you are using. Here I am seeing that I am using Ubuntu. Okay, so I'll just copy Ubuntu here. So this is Ubuntu here. I'll copy instruction for the Ubuntu. I'll copy here and I will paste the commands here. Okay, let me just, okay, let's see. Why it is not as not able to paste anything. So let me just paste now. Paste, fill in, and I'm just running all the 3 commands that it asks. Okay, so now it is installing. Okay, and once it is done, I should have a Terraform binary on my machine. Okay, done. So you just run Terraform command and you just say version. You will see the version of Terraform I'm using is 1.9.0. Okay, perfect. So if you run this command and you have this output, it means that you are on a thing. Okay, so let me just say commands dot md. Okay, I'll just say check if Terraform is installed. Okay, so this command will help you to check the installation. Okay, installed what to install. Okay, I'm very bad at this. Okay, so Terraform installation, and if you don't have installation, you can always go to if not, check out this one. Okay, all right. And also, if you to know which OS you are running, this is like cat etc OS release. Okay, and this is for which OS distro of Linux you're running. If you're on Mac or Windows, you already know which is. Perfect. So now you have a Terraform output. So this is your output. I'll just say, okay, this is the output. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So the next thing is how do you initialize? So there are few commands you need to when you work with Terraform, there are only few commands. Okay, there are not many commands with Terraform. So the first command is the init. Okay, so what is init? It initializes the workspace. Okay, Terraform also have its workspace. Okay, and what does this initialization means? It will download the required uh, providers. Providers are supportive things like if you want to work with AWS, you need a AWS provider. If you want to work with GCP, you need a GCP provider. If you want to access um, let's say a router, okay, so you need a provider for that router. Okay, you can configure your cameras with Terraform, so you will need a provider for that camera. Okay, perfect. So I mean, I use Terraform for setting up my all my cameras. So I have like 10 cameras in my at my home, and I use Terraform to install or install and configure those camera from code. Okay, so I manages all this infrastructure from Terraform only. Okay, so download the required providers. Okay, and it also downloads modules. We will talk about modules as well, which is being used in code. Okay, define the back end. We'll talk about backend. Okay, and all those things. Okay, so the initializers will do all this thing. It will prepare for running any subsequent Terraform commands. Okay, the second command is plan. Okay, it shows the state of infrastructure code. Okay, and the code. Okay, so you have some infrastructure already created. Let's say you started with a fresh Terraform code. Okay, you created a AWS account in a fresh, like there's nothing in the AWS, right? So the first thing you will do is you go and create a EC2 machine. Okay, so you create that machine using Terraform. Okay, now you have Terraform, you have EC2 machine in your Terraform. Now you create something else. Okay, and that is where you run plan command, and it will show that this is something the Terraform will create. Okay, so it will shows what already is created. Okay, what will be created, what is already there, what is created, what will be created, what will be updated, what will update, and what will delete. Okay, so whatever you have in the code, it will it will check that code with the existing infrastructure. Okay, it will connect to AWS, and it will see that the machine is already there or not. Okay, or if somebody has changed in the code the name of the name of the machine is already applied or not. So it will check the state of the infrastructure in the local code, and state of the infrastructure in the in the remote infrastructure. Okay, just like git status, right? When you do git status, it checks what has changed in the local file. Similar to that, so plan will show you what will change in the infrastructure. The next thing is apply. Okay, so the apply will apply the changes from syncs. Okay, instead of apply, it syncs look it syncs code with the infrastructure. Okay, so whatever is written in your code, it will try to apply the same changes in the infrastructure. Okay, so example, if you update name of security group in code, apply will change the name in AWS of SG in AWS, and this will show this will show in a minute. Okay, perfect. There is the fourth command, delete. Okay, so it will, sorry, destroy. Okay, destroy. So this will destroy the infrastructure. Okay, so it will simply it will delete all the infrastructure that you have created. Okay, whatever is present in the code, the same infrastructure it will try to delete from the remote infrastructure. Okay, so these are the four main commands that you will use in Terraform. There are other command as well, like Terraform RM. Okay, Terraform state. Sorry, Terraform state. Okay, Terraform lock. Okay, Terraform. Okay, there are many command here. If you see here, so there are these many commands. Okay, mainly main commands are this four commands, and there are rest of the commands. Okay, so so there are four main commands here. Okay, I didn't talk about validate. Let's talk about this as well, but we will see this when we start working on it. Okay, and other commands are like this. Okay, let's let's do some real thing here. Okay, I want to create a machine from Terraform. How do I do it? Okay, so I will so Terraform. So every code, every tool you use have its own coding standards. Okay, or it's code only or code format. Okay, Terraform use HCL. Okay, HashiCorp languages. Okay, so if you go to documentation, docs overview, so HashiCorp use its own own coding language, which is called HCL, okay, HashiCorp language. Okay, so HCL language. Okay. So it is similar to similar to what we say JSON. Okay, and I'll show you here. Okay, so it doesn't show up here. I don't know why it is happening. Okay, so this is the one. So it's a HashiCorp configuration language, and it has its own format. You see this format, this is format. So all these are languages based on uh, Go language. Okay, so it is written in Go, and uh, that thing will, if you know Go, you will find it similar syntax. Okay, so let's create our first EC2 instance. Okay, I'll call it ec2.tf. Okay, so Terraform files, the extension of the Terraform file is .tf. Okay, and let's try to add EC2 instance here. Okay, so I came up here and I can use this one as my sample code. Okay, so you can also search for it. Okay, whatever you need, right? I need, let's say, EC2 instance. Okay, using Terraform. When you search this, the first thing you will see is a Terraform registry link. Okay, so Terraform registry has all the available providers. Okay, if I go to HashiCorp, you will see the 4 providers here. Okay, but you can see many other providers. So all these are providers. You can use Terraform to create Kubernetes infrastructure. You can use Terraform to create AWS, GCP, Azure, Vault infrastructure, Helm. You can also use console. You can use Active Directory. You can create all these things. You can create using Terraform. So we are interested in AWS, and you see here there is a provider documentation here as well. Okay. So how do you? This is the provider documentation. You can also filter out whatever you want to create. So I create on EC2. You will see resource here. Okay, these are resources here related to EC2. I want to create a EC2 machine. So I will just search for EC2 instance. Okay, so I'll just select EC2 instance, and I should find a EC2 instance here, AWS instance. Okay. Where is EC2 instance? It is a type. Yeah. Okay, so this is creating EC2 instance. Let's go to this code and let's try to understand this code. So right now it is showing as plain text. Okay, let's install a extension in this VS Code so that this code will look a bit colorful. Okay, so what I need to do is I go to extension here. Okay, I search for Terraform. Just okay. So once you install this, and if I go to here, and you can see it is now opening as Terraform. I need to just close it, and I just need to reopen it. I don't know why it is not showing up. Okay, so let me just reload this Terraform file. Okay, not sure why it is not showing up. Let me just close this one and create a doc here. My bad, nothing. Okay, maybe it will take some time. Okay, anyway, let me just do this. Okay, so here it is it is finding an AWS Army. Okay, and it is creating a EC2 instance. Okay, let's try to do a init. Okay, and see what happens. Okay, Terraform init. Okay, so I have written a code for creating a AWS instance. and now I'm just running a init. Okay, here it says duplicate data because I have created this. Let me delete this. Sorry for that. And I will run Terraform init command. When I do a Terraform init, it downloads the provider. Okay, so how does it find the providers? You see, initialize the backend, initializing provider plugins. So it tried to see, and I'll just go to here. Okay, I'll just run Terraform plan again, and it is invalid AWS region. Perfect. Okay, so I need to define region as well. So AWS region equal to US East 1. Okay, scope. Now when you run a Terraform plan, invalid AWS. Okay, so let's see the region here. Okay, just copy, go to AWS console. Sign into console. Okay, so to do that, provider.tf. Okay, and here you can just do AWS provider. Okay, and you can say AWS, and here you can say region equal to US East 1. Okay, I think this is the provider and this is the correct provider. And let me just run this Terraform init again, so that because I changed this in the provider thing. Now let's do a plan. Okay, now you see here what it is trying to do. Okay, it is trying to create AWS web instance. Okay, and it is saying 1 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. So what is this one thing? The one thing is EC2 machine it is trying to create here. Okay, the resource here. Okay, and let me just try to apply here. Okay. When I do apply, I apply by default, run the plan again, and then it says if you want to apply or not. So when I do yes, it will try to create a machine. You see, it is trying to create EC2 instance. Okay, and I will try to log in here, and I will show you how does it look like. Okay, so let me just open the dash name here for AWS here. I'll copy the instance and just say Oliver Filambert. Okay, and here when I go to EC2 machine instance running, I am in US East 1, and now you see here hello world is getting created here. Okay, initializing. Okay, and this is what showing up here. Okay, if I go to wait a minute here, you say creation completed, and you see here our instance is got created here. Okay, now this is like initial thing. If I want to change the machine name, let's say created from Terraform. Okay, and if I do a Terraform plan again, it will show me that you are trying to change the name of the instance. Okay, now what it is doing is it is trying to get the state of the infrastructure, and it says you have defined the name as create from Terraform, and the name of the machine is hello world. So it will try to change hello world to create from Terraform. So it says 0 to add. So because we are not adding anything, we're just changing the name. So it will just say 1 to change. Okay. And this is like this instance will be updated in place. Okay. And now when I run apply, okay. So it will ask me if you want to really apply this. I just say it. So it says modifying. Okay. And once it is modification complete, I go here, I just refresh it here, and you will see the name of the instance is changed to create from Terraform. Okay. Now, okay, so I can create as many instances as I want. Okay, I can create one more here, one more here. I just need to change like web one, web two. Okay, I want to create two more instance. Okay, Terraform one, Terraform two, Terraform zero. Okay, this is zero here. Okay, so now if I run plan again, okay, so it says I have defined three instances here, right? One, two, and three, and I have only one created here. Okay, so now so that is why it is showing three to add. Okay, because I have three here, one to destroy because I changed name here. Okay, web zero. Okay, let me just remove this so that I will have only two created here. Yes, sir. So it says two to add, one to change. And what is this one change? We are just updating the name here. Okay. And let me now apply here. Okay. Okay. So I'll just say yes. Now it is saying web is getting modified and web one and web two are getting created here. Okay. And you can see it here as well. I'll just do a refresh here. Okay. And you will see three instance is getting created here. Okay. So this, you see how easy it is to spin up three instance from Terraform. By just defining the machine here, I am able to create the instance. Okay. Now, if I don't need these three, how do I delete them? Okay. I can comment them out here. Okay. So I can just comment them out here. Okay. I can just comment them out here. Okay. Or I can just delete them here. Okay. And I can just apply it again. Okay. So apply by default do plan as. Okay. So it's plan apply will do like plan and then apply. Now you see, because I don't have those machine here, and that is why it is trying to delete the instance here. Okay, when I do yes, it will, you see here, it is destroying the instance. Okay, and this will be visible here as well. You will see it is terminating. So all these three machine are getting terminated. You see shutting down now. Okay, and it will get deleted as well. Okay, so this way so this way you are able to create and destroy the instances here. Okay, I'll just keep one instance so that we can play with as well later. Okay, all right, it's destroying. Perfect. Okay, so now it is destroyed. Okay, I'm just applying it now again so that I will have one machine created here. Any questions till here? Okay. Okay, it is created. You will see it here. Again, I just created it again. Okay, so this is one running. These three are terminating. These are old one. Okay. Now we have created it. So if I run it again, okay, it will show that there are no changes in the infrastructure and your code is completely synced with the state. Okay, now you see here it says I check this 3-1 from the state. You see refreshing state, we'll see what is the state, and it says no changes in the infrastructure. Your infrastructure matches the configuration. Okay, so what does it matches? Okay, so how does Terraform know that the infrastructure state has this machine or not? Okay, so this Terraform will not go to AWS and ask for the details. Okay, so it is simply like you might have thousands of resources around AWS, right? So Terraform will not go to AWS and find the details of this machine or all these things. Okay, so what does it do is it has a concept of state. Okay, so let me draw it here. Okay, so the question is, how does Terraform knows about what exists and what not? Okay, so this comes from state. Okay, state. So what is a state? What is a state? So state is nothing but it contains the created infrastructure as JSON. Okay, it is a file which Terraform reads and write as a middle file. Okay, so what does this mean is you have some Terraform code here, right? This is your Terraform code. You have defined some Terraform code here. Okay, and this is your provider. This is your cloud here. Okay, your cloud provider. Like let's say AWS. Okay, and so the Terraform uses a state file. Okay, so this is not nothing but uh, terraform.state file. Okay, so this file contains information about the created infrastructure. Okay, so it says what is created, what is present in the cloud. Okay, so once you do a plan, right? So plan will check the state from this file and whatever is in this file. Okay, so so the plan will check the whatever is present in the state and whatever is in the code. So whatever is the difference between this state file and the code, it will show as a diff. Okay, diff is generated based on differences between state file and code. Okay, so Terraform doesn't go to cloud provider when you do a plan. It just checks the local state file, and if the local state file has differences, the plan will show differences. Okay, and we will see it in an example here. Okay, so the state file contains information about your created code. When you do apply, okay, when you do apply, okay, so the apply will sync the sync. So it just sync whatever is in code. Okay, so the plan creates a temporary state file. Okay, let me just draw it here. Okay, so the plan, when you do terraform plan, okay, it generates a temporary state file. What happened? Temporary state file. Okay, so this temporary state file is kept on your local folder. Okay, and the Terraform compares these two states. Okay, and difference output is shown based on this one. Okay, so whatever you are seeing here. Okay, so this thing, let me just make it big. Okay, let me just create a one here. Okay, and let me just run a Terraform plan here. Okay, so when you do a Terraform plan, you see there is a .terraform folder here. Okay, and there is a state generated here, and now that file got deleted, right? So you see here one to change. Okay, what is this change? This change is based on the two state file. You see one TF state backup, and there is a TF state. Okay, and you see these two file differences. Okay, so these are the file generated by Terraform. Okay, so this is the state of your applied infrastructure. So this is the state of your code infrastructure. Okay, and if I do a compare selected, you will see. Okay, so you see at the bottom what is getting changed. So it is getting changed by applying this state on the uh, on the instance. Okay, so this is managed instance, and this is the applied instance. Okay, and the difference between two is the name only. Okay, and that is why it is showing the differences here. Okay, so whatever is the difference between these two infrastructure, it will be applied to the provider. Okay, and even if I delete this here, okay, I'll show you that as well. Okay, just to make sure. So when you do a Terraform plan, it generates a temporary state file. This state file is compared with the state file which is already applied. Okay, and the difference is generated. Okay, and when you do apply here, okay, when you do apply here, another Terraform state is created, and this Terraform state is applied to the cloud provider. Okay, when you do apply again, when you do a Terraform apply, okay, another state file is created. Okay, and this state file is synced to provider, cloud provider. Okay, so this is how Terraform works internally. Okay, don't need to worry about all this thing. So just you need to know there is a Terraform state which defines the state of the infrastructure in a file format. Okay, and Terraform uses this state file to know things. Okay, let me just remove this state file and you will know what happens. Okay, so this is the state file. Let me just rename this state file, and let's say this is a state file .1. Okay, okay. Now just let me run the Terraform plan again. Okay, and this time you will see the Terraform will try to create the machine again. Okay, you see here one to add here. And why this one to add? Because the Terraform doesn't know about this instance in the state. Okay, this machine is not there in this state. That is why it is trying to create again. Okay, and now let me just move it back. Okay, I'll just do a here again. Okay, now this Terraform state is there. And if I run this plan again, it will know that there is a machine in TF state, which I don't need to create. And only thing that I need to change is renaming the name. Okay, so this is this is like what is state in the Terraform. So state is used to define what is there in the infrastructure, and what are the differences in the code and the Terraform state that is already there. Okay, so this Terraform state is still in local. You will see how you can store this in S3 bucket and what is the purpose of that. Okay, so for today, I'll just take a pause. Okay, and if you have any question for me, I'm open to question for the Terraform. Okay, so we learned about init, we learned about validate. Okay, let's quickly see what is validate. Okay, and I didn't show you what is the purpose of destroy here. Okay, let's take a destroy again. Okay, we have the machine, and now let's see Terraform destroy. Okay, you know how to you already know that how I can remove this infrastructure this resource using Terraform apply. Okay, I can just comment it out and run Terraform apply. it will sync it. But what if I need to delete all the infrastructure that I created with Terraform? Okay, so this is done using Terraform destroy command. So I just run Terraform destroy. It is exactly opposite of Terraform apply. It will try to delete. You see, it is destroying one EC2 instance. I'll just say yes. Okay, and it will destroy the machine. Okay, so that I don't get charged for it. Okay, so perfect. It is still destroying. It is still destroying, and this is getting terminated. I just need to refresh, and we will see it is getting terminated here. Okay. Terminated, and you will see it is terminated here. Perfect. So we saw how do you do this all this Terraform apply, Terraform plan, Terraform destroy. Okay, there's one important command which is validate, and let's see what is validate. Okay, so validate is nothing but it checks if your Terraform code is good. Okay, so when you create a AC2 instance, you always need to provide image name, right? But how do you check if you have if the resources that you have defined in code are good? Okay, that you can use that you can do with Terraform validate. When you create on Terraform validate, it will tell you what is missing here. Okay, so this is one of the way you check if the code is correct or not. Okay, this you can all this you can do with plan as well. Okay, but plan is a hectic thing. So when I run plan in my infrastructure, it takes 30 minutes. Okay, so you cannot wait for 30 minutes to know if there is a code error. Okay, if there is an error in the code. So instead, what you can do is you can use Terraform validate to know that the code is valid or not. Okay, so sometimes like plan will also do a validation. Okay, just similar to what is apply, right? When you do Terraform apply, it will check, it will do a plan and then apply, right? Okay, but why do you need a plan? You need a plan to make sure the Terraform infrastructure you are creating can be seen before it get applied. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is validate. Validate will tell you if the code you have written is correct or not. Okay, so if I do validate here, it will tell you that configuration is valid. Okay, I'll just write it here as well. So validate checks if the configuration is valid or not. Okay, so this is all. Okay, so I'll stop here today. Okay, and when we join tomorrow, we'll see more commands and more more building blocks for Terraform, like how to do for loop, how to do conditional checks. Okay, how to do a looping. Okay, all these things we will learn tomorrow. Okay, if you have any, do you have any question for me from today's session? Anyone of you? Anuradha, Lalit, Mahesh, Sandeep, Ishwini. Anyone of you have question for me from today's session?
I think we should try now.
Yes, you can just try it out and see if it works. So I'll check in this code so that you can work better. I'll just delete all this Terraform state and I will check in for you. Okay, so that you can also try all this thing. Okay, I'll add this tab that I use for so let me just delete this and I'll just copy the history here. Okay, and I'll just update this command. So this is the command I use to set up okay install on Ubuntu. Okay, I'll set it up here and I'll share this this link with all of you so that you can practice it at home. Okay, install. Okay, and install AWS CLI, and that you can do with this command. Okay. And unzip and sudo AWS CLI. Okay, perfect. So I'll just check them in and we'll share the link with you. Terraform day 1. Okay. All right, I'll stop sharing here and I'll stop recording.